we live?
We're live.
Oh, I was waiting for the countdown video. All right, good morning. I'm sorry, everybody. They usually have
It's all right. We're going
a little bit of miscued, but it'll make it all easier to get to know each other.
Absolutely.
So well, welcome morning. Good morning, everyone. For those that haven't ever met, my name is John Ahmann. I'm President and CEO of the Westside Future Fund, here with my co-hosts.
Good morning. My name is Ebony Ford. I am an English Avenue resident, very proud Hollis Innovation Academy parent, where my son Jeremiah goes to school at. And I am the Director of Corporate and Community Engagement at Quest CDC. So Westside, Westside, Westside. It's my whole life.
And good morning. My name is Benjamin Earley. I am a senior consultant at Redclay-Hill, digital marketing specialist, and most importantly, a fourth-generation historic Westside resident. My folks grew up right here on the West Side, graduated from the Booker T. Washington High School. Although my siblings and I, proud Douglas Astros right around the corner, so you know, we see a little bit of dissent here this morning.
Yes.
But it's nice to be here with y'all this morning.
All right. Well, for those that come often or have been a few times, you'll notice right away we've got a little bit different setup. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But first, I just want to start making sure we welcome any newcomers. Do we have any newcomers? Raise your hand if this is the first time you've ever been here.
Z.
All right, we have one newcomer. Welcome.
Okay. Nice to see you again.
We have. All right. So one for everyone. But we are broadcasting live. This screen may come on a little bit later. This is usually up and live. But they had some trouble with some issues last night. But for this summit, you can see we switched it up, and what we want to do is really encourage fellowship this morning. And so we thought we would, along with that fellowship, take a time to really reflect, on the summits, what they've meant, what works about them, and as a part of that, we'll get to in just a few minutes, we're going to invite folks to come up, to share what they think, has worked about the summit. We know some of our longtime attendees will come up, and a few in the audience also want to come and have that opportunity. And then we're just going to take, a little bit of a break during the program and just have fellowship around the tables and encourage people to maybe also move around and get to know each other. Because one of the great things, coming out of the summit, has been how people network and get to know each other.
Yes.
So our program this morning, we will still have the blessing, as we always do to ground. It'll be a shorter blessing. And Tamkea Askew, our Home on the West Side manager, will give that blessing. Then we're going to move into the reflection part of our program. Ebony and Benjamin and I will kind of kick it off on some of our reflections for the summit. And then as we always do, we'll have the drawing at the end of our summit with our gift certificates from the Home Depot and the Goodwill of North Georgia. Good morning, Miss Adams. I hope you'll be up this morning reflecting on all the things you've been thinking about our summits through the years.
Yes, no.
And then, so we won't be, because we'll be doing the fellowship, did we program time to do the self-introductions? I guess, because we're going to depend upon you in your fellowship to get to know each other time. Okay, fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right.
I cannot believe it's been almost 10 years. This is amazing. So I'm very, very happy, very excited to hear from everyone about, how you feel about the summits and how it's, transpired over the years. So yeah, I'm excited. Can't wait for the conversation.
I am too. I started with WFF here January of 2020. That was my first time hosting the summit here.
Right before the pandemic.
Of course, I didn't know that year would turn into everything it would turn into.
Right.
Wow.
But it's been quite the journey, and I'm happy, excited, and also a bit saddened to announce that today would actually be my final day as a regular co-host of the summits. Though I will be in attendance on occasion, but I have a different calling that I'm pursuing, and it's time for me to make that leap. But I did want to just take this moment to say thank you to Westside Future Fund for being everything that an organization like yours should be. Absolutely. And having the dedication, the staff, and genuinely the heart to do the work that you do. I tell the story all the time about how, coming from the West Side, we hear stories about the sort of white savior complex, right? Where, people come in with a lot of good things that they say they want to do for the community. Yep. But in the back of your mind, you've always got the voice of mama and grandma and them telling you to be cautious of people who say that they want to help. And, I told John in the very first meeting with John, the day that I met the man, I told him, I thought I had been to a couple summits, and I told him, I said, I thought it was all BS, and more, explicit terms.
Now we know what you mean.
I told him I thought it was all BS. But something that I really appreciate is having the opportunity to see behind the scenes and work so closely with the organization and really get to see how the sausage is made. I was able to really, really develop a genuine sense of respect for the work that these people do. And I can really say wholeheartedly that these folks are fully dedicated to what they do. And it's genuine, it's coming from a good place. And I'm saying that as a person, who is connected to this community. They earned my respect. And I think that's something that's really important to point out, that when you are in position like you are, respect is something that you have to earn. And these folks do it day in and day out. So I just want to take a moment to applaud you all and say thank you for the work that you all continue to do.
Wow,
Yeah.
thank you, Benjamin. And as he said, this will be Benjamin's kind of last, official summit with us as he pursues some of his heart's endeavors. But you're promising to keep.
Oh, I'll be around. Okay. I'll be around.
And since I know we've already moved a little off script, but since that, because I was reminded how I met Benjamin is during the summits. We had a firm at the time working with us dealt with our communication. We were trying to get out the word about the summits, and they had folks in the audience doing the live feed on their phones, like putting stuff up, and I realized they were tweeting about what's happening, but they couldn't speak with an authentic voice because they weren't from the community, right? And so if you're going to have a narrative, you're always going to have the narrative from the perspective that you are, right? If it's an authentic narrative. Absolutely. And it just kind of hit me, and then I had met some of the folks with Redclay Communication had been coming to the summit, Howard, and I reached out to him from the West Side, and I said, we would, learn that term. I think I first heard him from CNN, an embedded person, right? So if you could find someone from the community to kind of embed with us, and could you really talk about our work, but from the perspective of someone that has that authenticity. And then he said, I'll get back to you. And then and then that's when I met Benjamin. And it's been amazing because what Benjamin has done for our organization is giving voice to the work, and it's collective work. It's not just the West Side Future Fund. There are a lot of people working on the issues on the West Side, but as y'all can see, does that from such a place of authenticity and grounding in his own experience on the West Side and the issues he's faced, and what he's really taught me. I just mentioned this to him this morning, because as a leader, especially not from this community, so there's where I grew up, obviously the color that I am on the West Side. But giving me a lot of courage, because we've had a lot of pretty heartfelt conversations, and so I just want to say I appreciate that, because it's helped me have my own courage as part of the work on the West Side. So, man, thank you. And
so translation,
we got right into it.
You gave West Side Future Fund some street cred.
Oh,
that's kind of what I'm hearing. The street cred, okay.
Yeah.
And will this be one of your last times telling us to get connected?
Well, yeah, it might be one of my last times telling you to get connected, but I do want to say that. Again, John, what makes you a great leader is the fact that you listen. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be in a position of power and to, flaunt that and allow your ego to take control of the driver's seat. You're not a person that does that. And that was something that surprised me, and that was something that was one of the catalysts for you earning my respect as an individual, but also as the leader of, such an important organization doing such important work. So thank you for being who you are, man.
And that's a great tee off, because we want to listen this morning.
Absolutely.
More to testimonials.
We got some, we got folks watching right now online, so shout out to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube right now. Again, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow all of our channels so that we can help spread the wealth of information that is shared here at these summits. Absolutely. And as you were mentioning, we're going to have people share their reflections on their experiences here at the summit. And of course, we're going to start off with our beloved Ms. Tamkea Askew.
Really quickly before we get into that, make sure everyone goes and gets your red and your blue ticket so you can be entered into the drawing to win a Home Depot gift card or some people have won both at the same time. Goodwill North Georgia gift card. So make sure, again, you get your red and blue tickets and then stick around to the end so we can see if you win.
Absolutely. And John, if you wanted to ground us in the, are we doing a devotional statement today?
We're going to
Just
do
a
we're going to do a more abbreviated.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, usually we would do a devotional statement, but basically we're going to introduce Miss Tamkea Askew. She is the Home on the Westside manager, a beloved member of the Westside Future Fund staff. Tamkea joined WFF in March of 2020, right? 2022, sorry. And you know, she's been a tremendous asset to the organization. Anybody who goes through the Home on the Westside program gets to interact with this beautiful, spirited woman, and you know, gets to feel the warmth that, you know, of a community that is embracing people coming back and also moving here for the first time. And Tamkea, thank you for, you know, the heart that you bring, the experience that you bring, because you were doing this work well before you started with WFF. So thank you for everything that you bring to the table, and we look forward to hearing from you this morning. Let's welcome Ms. Tamkea Askew.
Well, good morning, everyone. And today we are celebrating the 9-year anniversary of the Transform Westside Summit, an idea and a vision that was created by Chick-fil-A Chairman Dan Cathy in 2014. The summit was created to bridge the gap between the Westside community residents and organizations that have a true passion and desire to see the Westside community grow. As we commemorate this 9th year, I can only reflect on the number 9, which symbolizes completion, the finality of one cycle and another's possible beginning. Today, we also want to acknowledge our wonderful co-host, Benjamin Earley, who has completed his God-given assignment and is moving on to a new beginning of his assigned journey. Benjamin, we love you. And we want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication to the Westside community. I actually met Benjamin in 2020 at the At Promise Center at a heightened time when the pandemic actually happened. We did not have enough drivers to deliver food, and actually Benjamin actually stepped in. We had delivered 280 bags of groceries that day, but he actually stepped in that day. So I really want to thank you for your dedication and your hard work to this community. I want to send you off with a blessing that is specifically for you. May God grant you always a sunbeam to warm you, a moonbeam to charm you, a sheltering angel so nothing can harm you, laughter to cheer you, faithful friends near you, and whenever you pray, heaven to hear you. This is not a goodbye, this is a see you soon. May God continue to cover and shield and give you unwarranted favor in all that you do. Thank you.
Y'all trying to make me cry this morning, man. I don't appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. I really do.
So
I'm sorry. I know this is way off book.
yeah.
I love you. I love every one of y'all. Like, I mean, Sonya, you know it. You know it. Like, this has really been the experience of a lifetime, and I appreciate everything that's come from it. I appreciate all of the genuine connections, the incredible relationships, and just the different opportunities that have arisen. I'm grateful for it. I won't let it go to waste. I just wanted to say that, man. I love you, bro.
Thanks, Fat. All right, I think we're going to start with, and I'm going to set the stage. I don't know, do you want to share a reflection after me? And we'll bring up other folks. So what we want to do now, and kind of for the next 10, 15 minutes or so, is encourage people to come up and share their reflections about, what they've experienced at the summit, what they like about the summit. We've got a couple folks ready to go. I think Ebony will go after me and share a reflection, then we'll ask folks to come up. And one of the things I guess I was, when I was thinking about this yesterday, knowing I'd have this moment to kind of share what my reflection about the summit would be, and I guess just kind of pivoting off what what Benjamin said. The Transform Westside Summits, back to kind of Dan's, brainstorm to do these summits. And at the time, and I had just it was actually before I started the Westside Future Fund, when the summits used to be over at the City of Refuge. And when Dan brought this idea up, I'm like, man, that is twice a month? Wow, that early in the morning? And but what Dan I think really saw is what's so foundational to the work, the most critical part of the work, especially given the kind of work we're doing that's bringing different people together that have very different life experiences, is you have to have a safe forum to build community and to get to know each other. And one of the things that the summits have really given me, and when I became, had the blessing to lead the Westside Future Fund, is, one, I'm naturally an introvert. If you go to a party, I'm often can be the one kind of standing in the corner. I don't, to work a room, I have to remind myself to work a room. And the summits, for me, have been an enormous opportunity to meet so many people and engage with so many people that otherwise I never would have had the opportunity. And so for me, and if you think about how much has been poured into the summits, in leading the Westside Future Fund, it's been like, if you think of it just came into my head, like a super fertilizer going into a plant, because it's helped me grow so much by all the experiences and all the learnings, but also just a teaching and how to build a community. Because I think about a real inspiration for me, Dr. Martin Luther King. At core, as a minister, what he was at core about was teaching people how to love one another through building community. Because he, in terms of what he modeled, in terms of love thy neighbor. So the summits is that community building for me has just been incredible. And I was thinking about a favorite memory of the summits too, because there's been so many moments. A big moment was when COVID hit, and we were trying to figure out, do we keep doing these summits? What do we do now? And then we decided to go. Keep them going and go live. That's when we really, moved into a whole nother level on doing the live summits. We started at the Good Samaritan Health Center, did a couple from my home, and then we moved out, the owner of TFMV, his father's church, because we wanted a studio and not have to keep moving around the equipment. And so we would set up at the church, and I remember we were in the middle of one summit, and I think it was Ebony, started screaming. You remember this? And it's like, I think Sonia's about to remember. It's like in the whole, and it just like shot out of the shot, and other people were running. I was like, what just happened? And there was a giant snake slithering through the set. So a big snake had come through.
I feel like I need to speak up for myself a little bit. I thought I handled myself well. The snake was like 9 feet long, right? I wasn't gonna tell nobody. I thought it was all our secret, but now that the word is out. So yeah, it was like 9 feet, and Benjamin was like, I'm only one on stage in the middle of the stage, right? I'm sorry, taking over your reflection. And I just see people start looking weird behind me, and you can't look behind, especially a black person, like that, because we're gonna be like, what's going on? So, but I tried to be calm. Benjamin said, just come here. So I ran off the stage. Meanwhile, the person that I had asked the question to is still answering the question. He has no clue, right? And I turned, somebody grabbed me, and they said, don't look. I said, no, I want to see. Is it a roach? They said, no. Is it a rat? Oh, I said, a snake. They said, yes. And so I turned around, it was like 9 feet long. Yes. And we have video of it too. But anyway, yeah, I thought I handled myself well, John. I screamed. Sorry.
But it was a great moment because we pivoted, kept on moving. We didn't shut everything down. And so I don't know if you want to count that. But if you want to come up and share a reflection, and then we had a couple people in the audience to start, Sandra Bush and Reverend Leroy Wright, and then after that, if others want to come up and share a reflection, we would invite you to that. We'd ask them to keep them around 3 minutes or so. Then we're going to go through some reflections, and then we'll take a little bit of that's why we set up in table, a little bit of break just to encourage fellowship, people to introduce themselves around the table and get to know each other. And then we'll, come back, do some closing comments, and as we always are, be adjourned by 9. So
Sounds
turn it
good.
to you.
Thank you, John. I don't think I have a better reflection or memory than that one. But I will say that when I first started the summit, I was outside. I live in English Avenue right here, and this black truck rolls up, tinted windows right in front of my house, and I'm like, oh my God, drive by, it is what it is. And so the window rolls down, and it's Mr. Ahmann. He said he had an opportunity for me to co-host the summits, right, that we have at that point in time. It was twice a month. And I thought, oh my God, yes, I'll do it one time. That would be excellent. And little did I know, what was that, like 2 years ago almost? And I've been pretty much at every single summit since then, and I'm very happy to be here. It has been has made a tremendous difference in my life. They call it the Transform Westside Summit. And in order to transform the West Side or any other neighborhood or community, to be honest, you have to transform each individual. This summit has transformed my life. Like literally mine. You can clap. I appreciate it. Yes, thank you. My entire career at this point is attributed to being here at the Westside Future Fund Summit. So, and not just being on the stage, literally, the magic is out here, which we will experience shortly when we start to get together, okay? So that's my reflection. I'm very happy to be here. Did not know it was gonna be 2 years, but I'm happy for it and thankful for it.
Make a plug for your podcast.
Oh yes, and if you guys are not tired of seeing me here once a month, we do have a podcast at Quest, which is my full-time job, my daytime job at Quest. And the website is questcdc.org/wise. Again, it's questcdc.org/wise. Please go on there and subscribe. And it is called West Side Wise. So it's all about West Side. And we've had quite a few guests on already, and I think you'll enjoy it. Check it out. All right, thank y'all.
Thanks. All right, so we'd asked some folks, to be ready. So Ms. Bush, are you ready to share? All right. Well, come on up. And as you start, share with people how long you've been coming, because you've been one of our most. We started, yeah, 9 years ago.
Not that long.
That's it. That you've been, yeah, but that just as bad as many of all of us. So thanks for for sharing for us for a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm for those of you who do not know, I'm a legacy resident of the Booker T. Washington neighborhood. I do not claim Askew Heights, and I'll tell you that along a sidebar. I want to say to Benjamin, I don't know what a person who's 3/4 of 100 could give you advice on. There were no computers, or I learned to use a typewriter, but I've navigated phones and everything. All I can say to you is keep climbing. And Benjamin and I have had some conversations about the neighborhood, and I hope that you will flourish in the Big A. Everyone wants to come to Atlanta. Each time I go to my college homecoming, it's, oh, what are you doing in Atlanta? I said, we are closed. We have enough people, traffic, do not come. Anyway, I will apologize for my lengthy lesson because I am a home economics teacher, 42 years straight. So I haven't gotten rid of that yet. But Benjamin, enjoy life and keep climbing.
Okay.
All right, I know we had Pastor Wright was going to share reflections. And so is there anyone, because these were the folks we'd asked to, so we know we had a couple for this as we started, but after he finishes, raise your hand if you'd like to share so I can make sure we could call you up. And I know Maria Supporter will, because she's been coming to a lot of them. I see my, Bill Bowling in the back, so I know you would share. Great. So why don't you come on up, and then, yeah, please welcome him up to the stage. Thank you. You got the mic right there.
Good morning, everyone. I am Reverend Dr. Leroy Wright. I'm the pastor of First Thessalonian Missionary Baptist Church at the corner of Vine and Simpson, or Vine and Joseph E. Boone. We sit in the middle between Vine City and English Avenue, and we've been coming here a long time, and I want to reflect on the fact that there are many things that I've thought about, but one of the things that keep popping up is transformative authority. Transformative authority. In history, there has been situations where the lessers have been not recognized. One of the terms is subaltern. And one of the books I read was, Can the Subaltern Speak? In other words, can the class, the poor, the ones who are not privileged, can they speak and be recognized? In ancient times, the citizens, each of them had a day when they were in charge. They'd sit at the gate and they could speak and make judgments. But the subaltern could never speak in the public sphere. But what we find here, or I think what we have here, is the subaltern are speaking. The majority might not be listening, but the subaltern are speaking. And they've always spoken. And we who feel that we can, be self-sufficient and self-defined, keep running into some problems in that the majority says, well, you're not able. Well, in a way, there's some truth to that. But when we look at Nehemiah, and I really think Nehemiah is very appropriate, unfortunately, my community didn't have a Nehemiah. We're still looking for the Nehemiah. We're still looking for the one who's connected to the privilege of the king as well as the people, because the people do have a mind to work. But one of the things, again, about the summit I've enjoyed is that people like Dan Cathy would rub shoulders with the commoners. Chick-fil-A is just amazing as far as I'm concerned. We used to give block parties, and Chick-fil-A would supply some Chick-fil-A's for our block parties. And we advertised ourselves, and they would take a contribution and be on our T-shirts. But when the power and authority meets the poor and underclass, and we do have dialogue, and we do have a public sphere where we can speak, that can be very altering. And I think Westside Future Fund has altered the thinking of many because it has worked towards transformative authority. They have decided that we need housing. So they bought lots and they built the housing. And unfortunately, none of the community had, say, the organizational skill or the resources to do it on their own. But thankfully, Westside Future Fund listened. They did listen, and they gave us a chance to speak. So I am very grateful for Westside Future Fund for allowing me to rub elbows with the rich and powerful, and the commoners, Dan, Cathy, and all the other people, Tate, and the community. We're going to make it. We've always strived. Even when things were against us, we've always thrived. And what we find here is that tomorrow, we're always hoping tomorrow will be our day. We can live without air for a few minutes. We can live without water, but we cannot live without hope. And so Westside Future Fund, I want to thank you for allowing us to have hope that our voices will be heard.
Ready? No, thank you, Pastor, and I always appreciate you. You always speak right from your heart with a lot of honesty. So grateful for that. And I think too one of the things you brought up that I do also really appreciate about this summit is we didn't do it this morning, but I really came to appreciate how important it was, back to some of the dichotomies you spoke to, that we would do the self-introductions, right? And for me, what the self-introductions became, because everyone just says their name and kind of what, an affiliation or association, and everyone would do it. And we would never skip anyone, and everyone would do it the same way. And for me, even though people came from different places and may have perceived more power or less power, but it was a level set that we're all here equally. Because one of the things about the summits, for me, is it's a level set so we can all, learn from each other, and not elevating one over the other, but trying to level set to kind of what you spoke to. So thank you for that. And now ask Mr. Bellows to come up. Has been coming to the summits a long time as well, and a long time resident of the West Side and his family. So thank you. Let's help get him inspired. Thank you, man.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Bellows. I started coming here maybe about 5 years ago. I used to sit in a little spot over here, and one time when Dan Cather would come in here, I didn't even know who he was. And he used to come and just sit all the way up close to me. I was like, they got a whole bunch of empty seats in here, so why he want to come and just sit by me? But I didn't know who he was. I thought, he always just, And then when I really found out who he was later on after that, I was like, oh man, all that time that man was sitting right next to me and I didn't know who he was. But anyway, but Benjamin, we're gonna miss you. I don't know who's gonna take your place. For real. We're gonna miss you. I mean, who can take his place? I don't know, because he, every time he get up here on the panel, he asking the questions, and he be asking questions that I had in my mind that I was going to ask, and he already asking them. So I just want to reflect on one time that when I met John, I was an Uber driver, but John didn't really know me that was coming here, and I picked him up from a refuge, and he was like, he got in the car, he said, well, my name is John. I said, well, I know who you are. He was like, how you know who I are? I said, well, you come to the summit meeting. I said, so we got to talking, then, but this is a very emotional time. I learned a lot by coming here. It really changed my life. I started volunteering. We did volunteering with Miss Hudson, and we did a habitat bill, and it was a very emotional time. But that's all I got to say right now.
All right. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, he was when our offices were at the City of Refuge, as he said, he picked me up, and he did say, when he knew my name, and then when he said, well, I'll go to the Transform Westside Summit, then I felt super bad, because I'm sorry, I should have known your name. So I appreciate that, and it was interesting that I was going over to, what, 960 Martin Luther King Drive, I think I remember the address right. Winston Taylor, Pastor Taylor, owns a building next to Booker T. Washington. I was going over there, and when I got there, then I realized they had, attended church and knew each other. So I was like, wow, all these kind of reflections. And I always remember the quote, because this is what that kind of stuff always reminds me of. I first heard it from Ambassador Young, that coincidences are God's way of working anonymously. I'm like, wow, look at all these coincidences just happened on this Uber ride. So who would like to go? Who go next? I made some suggestions, but they were just suggestions. But are there other folks that would like to reflect, kind of following some folks? There must be a couple more. All right, come on up. We're all. All right. Well, it's a good start because you have happy on your T-shirt. All right. So let's welcome her up. All right. Just hold the mic close to your mouth.
Good morning, y'all. In case you don't know me, I'm Corey. And I started coming to the summits about, the best I can figure out, about 6 years ago. I was a sophomore in college, and I had started going to a church in English Ave, and I was very curious about the impact that church was having on the community. And, well, today I don't go to that church anymore, but I still come here. So I mostly just wanted to say thank you to you guys for letting a naive, curious 19-year-old walk into your community and for teaching me so much over the last 6 years. You all are amazing. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you. Always great to have the amazing word. So who wants to go next? All right, thank you, Miss Adams. Let's welcome Miss Adams up. I lifted you up. Think about, yeah.
Good morning. I've been coming to the summit probably since they first started, and it's a lot of information, but the real thing I've seen since I've been here is they do what they say they're going to do. Now, I never said this to John, but when you first got involved in Vine City, they told me the word was not to trust you. But you can't go by what someone else says until you get to know that person. And then I found out he moved on Sunset. I said, oh, moved in my neighborhood. I said, he must be for real. So anyway, I just want to say thanks for all that you all have done. You all have supported my neighborhood, my group. I can depend on you all, and sometimes I volunteer, and just because I have this shirt on doesn't mean I'm part of them. I volunteered, and they gave it to me. And I just happened to grab it this morning, not knowing that I was going to be asked to come up here. But I really do appreciate all that you've done, you and your staff, that you've done for my neighborhood. And I think when they start doing good things for Vine City and English Avenue, some of the other people like Askew Heights and AU Center got jealous. So now they have expanded their services to the four or five neighborhoods. But you can't have them. We got them, and we're going to keep it. So I want to say thank you to you and your staff for all that you've done for our neighborhood.
Well, thank you, Miss Adam. I appreciate those words, and also appreciate Miss Adams because how much she deeply cares for the neighborhood, especially on issues of public safety. And I know she's in a different place, but one of the first multifamilies we acquired so it wouldn't go into private hands and potentially be sold and then demolished to build more density on it was villas. She would text whenever something wasn't quite right, you would let us know. And so we appreciate that, because you do have such a heart for this community, so thank you. And I see Bill Bowling, and I really want to appreciate, I think most folks know, but Bill Bowling, what I appreciate about his reflections is that Bill started the Atlantic Community Food Bank. Bill started the Atlantic Community Food Bank back, I won't date you, but a bit ago. But Bill has been about the West Side for a long time, and you've been an enormous friend and mentor to me and helped me. And I think, and Bill always reminded me. He said, I got into the food bank business, but at core, I want to build community. And so Bill has really been a great mentor for me in helping me understand that part of it. So thank you.
Thank you, John. I've been coming to the summit since we began. I moved to the West Side, the Atlanta Food Bank, in 1984. So I've been over here a long time. And a number of things I would say. One is just the importance of place, of a place together, to be together. When I started the food bank, I started out of a church, St. Luke's Episcopal Church, but the idea was that we would handle the logistics and the liability issues and all that stuff. But the key was getting the food to the place where people trusted, a place that they were comfortable with. So we created over 650 congregations throughout North Georgia, a number of them here on the west side. So the first thing I'd say is John and the West Side Future team, Beverly, investing in a place for us together, I think has been a key. The other thing is that after leaving the food bank, I thought my work would be leading from behind and trying to help the next generation, and I've done a lot of that. A wonderful thing about the West Side is how many entrepreneurs we have here, how many people that want to help and have an idea and try to gather up the forces to do good. So the first thing that I, and working with a number of you with your ideas and small businesses, the first thing I say is you've got to know who your constituency is. You've got to know who wants you to succeed besides your mother. Now, your mother always wants you to succeed, but maybe nobody else. So the constituency, when you're on the west side, is my neighborhood. That's who wants me to succeed. And then we go out from there. But you've got to start with that core group. So a wonderful thing about the entrepreneurs on the west side is they're aspirational, they got great ideas, they want the right thing to happen, and then they gather up folks in the neighborhood to support them, and then we go out from there. I think the last thing I would say, and I think this comes out of the summit and us knowing each other, is that to be successful, you've got to develop a network. And a network is really a group of people that we can build trust in, that we can get through the hard times with each other. So what we've known on the west side through the years is all the things we don't have over here. That's how we were identified, what we didn't have and how bad it was, how much we were left out. But what's happened over the last 9 years, I think, is that we've turned that upside down and say we have great things on the west side, that west side's the best side, and that we have great assets in this community. And as many of you have said, those assets are each other. So we identify now as a place of power, a place that we take pride in, and a place that we trust each other. Don't think we would have done that had we not gathered together. And I said the last thing, but I would say John and I worked together to save the old food bank building over on Jefferson Street. We have 19 nonprofits in there now, most of them serving the west side, a lot of them having to do with food and co-ops and support. But we also have space, and I know a number of you have used it, so I encourage you to see 970 Jefferson as a community center and an asset for this community, and that we will be good hosts there. So thank you. I've gotten to know a lot of you a lot better. I've had transactions in the past of just around food, but now I have friendships and people that I can rely on, and I hope that you know you can rely on me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. And Bill mentioned 970 Jefferson Street. I'm just curious, how many folks here, when Bill said 970 Jefferson Street, know the building or been in the building? Just raise your hand if you know it. All right, that's awesome. So there's some that haven't, but I want to really thank Bill, because when we were housed at the City of Refuge, we wanted to be in a place, closer into the footprint we were focused on. And then when the Atlantic Community Food Bank moved closer to the airport, and they were gonna, at that point, the West Side Connector Trail had been announced, and a housing developer offered $5.2 million for the building with the intent over time to tear it down to do a tall multifamily. It was really Bill's vision about the importance of having an anchor, a place people could go to build community, and it was thanks to him that we were able to acquire it at a previously appraised value. And then we were had all kinds of thoughts about it. Then COVID hit, and then we had thought we weren't going to be able to do much during COVID. But then what emerged out of that was during COVID the necessity to be able to serve people with medical supplies and especially food back to the building's original purpose. So we really activated around serving, and then back to kind of Bill's vision of building community with other. We were lucky enough to raise some funds to renovate some of the buildings and have different not-for-profits there. But Bill, and I know over time, we really want to do more activation and more community building at 970 Jefferson Street. So we have, more to come. And so as Bill said, we invite you to come see it. Because the intent of it was to provide a safe space to build community like we're doing here this morning. So thank you for that. And does anyone else would like to come? All right, Miss Maria Zaporta. And I really appreciate Maria. And I first got to know Maria through reading her columns in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution when she was there, and has been an amazing columnist, an amazing voice for our city for a long time. I could say a lot. What I really appreciate about Maria is often when folks, especially when you're in the fundraising, people ask you, is this a best practice, or what you're doing a best practice? And I always feel a little humbled by that, because it's the easiest. Well, yeah, best practice, but I'd like to be able to quote someone else saying that we're best practice and then, it was actually earlier in the year, Maria's been coming to a lot of the Transform Westside Summits. You labeled it a best practice, so thank you, because then I can say, well, Maria Zaporta says a best practice, so we're going to go with it. So thank you.
That was up until now.
Right.
You really threw me off by not doing the self-introductions. I mean, I have to say that the self-introductions is what makes this room what it is, because that's how we get to know each other, and that's how we are all on an even plane. I have to say, Benjamin, it's going to be hard to have these summits without you. I remember you giving that impassioned comments when we were talking about gun violence, and you spoke from your heart in a way that had all of us in tears. And so I want to thank you for your head and your heart and your soul that you have shared with us. So I grew up kind of on the west side, on North Avenue, next to Techwood Homes. And I used to come here as a kid. I had the privilege of knowing the King family, and I used to spend the night in their home on Sunset Avenue. And I can tell you that I can truly say the West Side has helped transform my life. Over the years as a journalist, I covered a lot of stories here when they were building the Georgia Dome, and the disconnect that happened between them and the community. And it was like there's this gulf, and the gulf is Northside Drive. Y'all have heard me say that more than once about how we need to figure out a way for Northside Drive to connect us rather than divide us. But we've seen a lot of examples of how not to do things in Atlanta. And what the Transform Westside Summits have done, what the Westside Future Fund has done, is shown us how we can do things right, how we can build trust, how we can create community. Great to see my sister, Beverly, my AFI friend. I don't know if y'all know about the Atlanta Friendship Initiative, another way to build community. But Bill, I have to say to you, about 5 years ago, it may have been 6 years ago, you made a statement to me that really resonated and hit home. And you said, when we first started meeting at the Transform Westside Summits, it was us versus them. You said, now it has become we. It's a room of we. We are here in this together. And you're right, John. I have described this room, this effort, as the best of Atlanta. This is where all of Atlanta can come together. And with respect, with kind of a, where everyone, connects with each other, gets to know one another, sees how we can help create something for the greater good. There are a lot of organizations in this town that could learn a lot about how you do things or how we do things here at the Transform Westside Summit. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. I promise to continue to be a pain in the ass, but that's okay. Got to save our historic buildings on the West Side. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Maria. So Maria, kind of noted quickly, we did a little bit differently this morning. We didn't start me with the self-introduction. So what I thought I would do right now, and appreciate the reflections, and maybe we'll take 10 minutes or so to go around the tables. Maybe any folks, toward the end, we can maybe do, one or two more reflections of folks, are thinking about it and want to say something before we close out. But maybe to encourage the fellowship to kind of start. And if you're at a table and you want to move where there's more people, maybe as we turn the tables, we could start with Maria with what you remind us we always do. But each table, folks just go around and introduce themselves and say their name and just spend a few minutes getting to know each other. Then we'll come back with a few more closeout testimonials. And please, as always, there's the free Chick-fil-A breakfast available. So we won't go table by table, but just turn it over to the people now. And so we just encourage y'all to introduce each other and talk for a few minutes, and we'll come back to our broadcast from we're still be broadcasting live, but we'll come back to the program. Thank you.
Left with something new. See through your head. You haunt my dreams. There's nothing to do but believe. Just believe. Just breathe. Another day, just believe. Another day, just breathe. Another day, just believe. Another day, just breathe. I'm used to it by now. Another day, just believe. Just breathe. Just believe. Just breathe. Lying in my bed. Another day, staring at the ceiling. Just breathe. Another day.
Well, hello again. I'm sorry to, I can feel the momentum of people talking around the tables, but we wanted to kick back up to do just a couple more testimonials. And Tillman Ward, I can see Tillman Ward talking, but I know one of the hands that went up in the beginning was Tillman's hand. And so I want to make sure that we got in time for Tillman to, to share a reflection as a longtime summit goer and a long-term resident of the city. So are you ready to share a reflection in just a moment, Tillman? Okay, why don't you... So it was great seeing everyone build up momentum and talking to each other at the table, so thank you for doing that. We're real interested in your feedback about this summit, so please share with us if you like this format. And as we, we really want the summit to be a we, and so we really want to be, as the host of the summit, the facilitators, structure these in ways that really work for you. And so we're going to, over the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to close out, so we kind of finish by 9. We always want to be mindful of that. But Tillman Ward, a longtime Vine City resident, come on up, Tillman. And one of the things I appreciate about Tillman is his knowledge about history of the West Side, and he knows that history because he's lived in the neighborhood his whole life. And I remember one of the stories that Tillman told me, because he has a home on Sunset just across the street from 234 Sunset, Dr. King and Cretta's home, but that when he was younger, he remembers Dr. King driving down the street, and I was like, wow. So thank you for all that you've done to help make us better with all of your advocacy for the history of our West Side. So share with us a few remarks. And hold the mic close to your.
This way? Okay. Thank you, John. Good morning, family. I guess I could very quickly say that being old school, I usually ask people how they mama and them. But I've been fortunate enough to having met and known a lot of the movers and shakers, their parents. Maria, I remember her father, where the food bank was, where Bill has a food bank. I remember Ted Turner having his father had a business right there at that location, where I did an interview, I believe, with Benjamin at the corner of Sunset Avenue and Magnolia Street. At that location was where Dr. King came by and told Mrs. Dorothy Bolden, if you ever heard tell of her, that I'm going to move over here. And she said, no, you're not. You're going to Collier Heights with your father and your sister. He came to Sunset. Where was that? Sunset and Magnolia? John is modest, but if you look through some of the footage, you'll see a relative of John marching right there beside Dr. King when it was not popular and could have been considered dangerous. But John's low-key. Like I heard somebody say, I don't remember this person going to a meeting, speaking up, speaking out, saying loud. He said, but when I see them come to meetings and they decipher and digest everything that's been said, I see dirt moving. So that's the kind of person John is, makes things happen. I guess I could say that the little pen I wear sometimes that says, anybody can make a difference. Everyone should try. And there are those who are determined to make a difference, and there are those who are destined to make a difference. I see that in this room. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tillman. And yeah, he kind of my own, destiny about things. It's always amazing for me to think. But my uncle Matt Ahmann spoke at he was one of the organizers of the March on Washington, my dad's brother. And he spoke in 1964 before I was born. And it was actually Ambassador Young that educated me in that connection, because I was a bit estranged from my father's family growing up. And so, yeah, that it's because I've often reflected the words that were spoken in 1964 before I was born put me on Sunset. And so that's kind of my God connection, is like, okay, because that's the I feel a personal connection to the story because of my uncle. But thank you for that, and thank you for all you do. And as we look to close out our summit, we're going to shift a little bit, because one thing we always like to make sure we do is the gift card. So Ebony's going to draw the numbers for the Home Depot gift card, Goodwill gift card. Then we're going to make some closing comments, and then we'll be finished right about 9 o'clock.
Sounds good. That was some awesome reflections. I appreciate y'all. I know it's scary getting up, mic in your face with all these people, but thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for that. And without further ado, Home Depot has invested millions of dollars into the revitalization of the West Side, and they are giving a gift card away today as well. So the red winning ticket number is 3990998. 3990998. Who's that? Oh, congratulations! Congratulations. Come on up. You can keep the ticket. That's okay. That's a bonus.
You guys are so great.
Take a picture right here.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so precious. Okay, Goodwill of North Georgia. Does anyone know what they do? They put people to work. Yes, and they have a new store, well, still relatively new store on Metropolitan Parkway. It is awesome. Check it out. The blue winning ticket number today for the Goodwill of North Georgia card, excuse me, thank you, John, is 130618. 130618. Somebody was happy. Nope. Hey, Miss Salters. Thank you. Hey, Miss Salters. It's so good to see you. Miss Salters works at Hollis. She works with my son, put up with his little bad self. Thank you, Miss Salters. Right here. Thank you, Miss Salters. All right.
Well, all right. Congrats one more time to both of our gift card winners.
So we're in our closing comments.
Yeah, if I may, just for a second, I was just carrying on from where I left off this morning. It's been quite the transformative experience for me the past 3.5 years, and I'm grateful again to WFF and every relationship, every single connection that has come from it. One thing that I've learned from all of the opportunities to interview people and speak to community members, speak to different leaders, is it matters who's in position to make a change. It matters who's in position. And aside from just pursuing my own lifelong dreams, I realized that a consequence of me doing that is positioning myself for a certain level of influence that I can have in my community. And so that's the added benefit, but it's a very, very, very important added benefit to me sort of taking the leap and betting on myself at this particular time in my life. And again, I'm thankful to all of you. I'm thankful to this wonderful, incredible, meaningful organization that genuinely embraced the community, that was very, very hesitant to embrace y'all. And, like I said, there's a healthy level of caution that any community should engage organizations of this magnitude with, until, again, that respect is earned. And I just, again, want to say I appreciate you all for earning my respect. And every other organization, Goodwill, Mr. Merriweather, you all, Atlanta Community Food Bank, Bill, you all, Chick-fil-A, without a doubt. Dan, if you're watching, I appreciate everything that you've done. I'll talk to you soon. But Rodney as well. But, I've had the opportunity to sit with some incredible people, men and women, leaders of organizations, small and large, that are all having humongous impacts in our community. And that's something that I don't see changing. And so you all won't miss me entirely here at the summits. I'll still be involved. I'll still be around. I just won't be regularly, hosting as you've become accustomed to. But I'll still be around from time to time. And I say that because, it's important to stay rooted in, what is feeding my hunger for another level of success. Mm-hmm. And it's really just the connection to this community and wanting to be in a position to where I know without a doubt that when something I think needs to be done, I can do it. And where I can connect with people who, are aligned in that same vision and on the same level of influence, and we can really, really make some shake. But it matters. It matters to have some stake in the game. It matters to have some skin in the game. It matters to not just be represented by wonderful people who have your best interests at heart, but it's a totally different thing when you can look at people who are in those positions and say, I grew up with him, mm-hmm. or, I got his number in my phone, or we just had dinner the other day. Like that matters. And so that's where my trajectory is headed. That's where my goal is. And so I look forward to continue to engage with every one of you, to that end, and to help you as well get to wherever you aspire to be. And collectively, we're going to have an amazing impact on the West Side for a long time. Absolutely. For a long time. And this is the time to do it, because Atlanta is really at one of those decision points in its history. We're at a moment where a lot of things are mixing together at the same time. At the time where we are facing increasing costs of rent, compounded by automation, which is not going to slow down, I'm sorry to tell you. So there will be more people needing work in the future. There will be more disparity between the haves and the have-nots. Artificial intelligence is coming for everybody in the, not in the doomsday sort of way, I hope, but in the sense that, it's a technology that's not slowing down, and soon you will see everything from bank tellers to, people checking out your food at the fast food stations to, even some white-collar jobs will be completely automated away in the next decade. And so what that does is that emphasizes the need now for, us to create a more equal playing field for all of us to grow. Because when you get to a point where you have, and you can mark my words, AI is going to create the first trillionaires in the world. So when you have a situation like that, and you still have people who we can't figure out how to get food to people who need it. We can't figure out how to get people in homes when there are more houses in America than people. We can't figure out the simple things about how to educate people so that they can be provided an opportunity to grow and to actually thrive. When we have been so committed to a system that pits us against one another, competition can be healthy, but capitalism even can be a healthy form of competition, but when it doesn't have boundaries, when it doesn't have limitations, when it doesn't have checks and balances, it runs rampant and it becomes you versus me by any means necessary. And so in a world where there would be such tremendous wealth, such tremendous opportunity to create new forms of wealth, new levels of wealth, we have to ensure that we have a level playing field and a safety net for the average person, because the reality is, the common argument is, well, if they want to do better, they should create a business and yada, yada, yada. That's not everybody's path. That's not everybody's forte. And I don't think a consequence of not being an entrepreneur, not being a billionaire, or not being a millionaire, I don't think the only alternative should be is you have to scrap 24/7 to achieve a standard of living that should be a given in this day and age. We are in the most profitable, the wealthiest country in the history of humanity. We can do better than this.
Amen.
We can do better than this. And so, that was a lot. I ain't planning on saying all that just now, but still, that's my heart. That's the heart that you all have gotten to know over the past 3 years. And I just want to say again, I appreciate you. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'm looking forward to staying engaged and in touch with each and every one of y'all. Thank you.
Good for Benjamin. So the closing comments, one, I want to thank our chair, Dr. Beverly Tatum, for being here. An amazing leader in her own right, and thank you for all you've done to lead our organization. She was a founding board member of the Westside Future Fund when it started. And we think we can persuade her, even though she won't be chair next year, to remain on the, but she's in demand around the world for her expertise on the basis of racism and what can bring us together. So thank you for all you've done and been such a model. And we have a great chair-elect in our next summit, back to authenticity, as our chair-elect Dallas Smith, who will tell you, you will hear in the summit if you come in July, Dallas grew up on Hunter Street, he will quickly say, which is now MLK Drive. And so he is now moving back to Hunter Street. And he owns founded and owns the largest black brokerage firm in the country. And he'll be here at our next summit. He is our incoming chair. And it was because I had such a great chair that he would even say yes. So come back then. And I want to, as I finish, so much appreciate your remarks and everything you've done. And Pastor Wright, you really reminded me of something I hadn't fully clicked into, the word transform. I think about that word a lot when I first started the Westside Future Fund, because it's a word, especially if you're in the fundraising business, everyone wants to say I'm transforming something. And the difference between the word transform and like incremental, right? Because transform means something completely different. And what I really focus on, when I do a lot of tours, a lot of it around, raising, the charitable funds we need. And the scorecards are like how many homes we have, new things coming online, number of volunteer active, numbers. But what really is the number is how many hearts are transformed. That's what you reminded me of this morning, is that did we transform a heart? Because there's no doubt that everything we need in this city, to the issues you just raised, is here. It's about transforming hearts. And if that is the real measure, because if we do that, everything that we want will then happen, right, Benjamin? I think that's what you're speaking to. So thank you for reminding us of that this morning, and thank you all for this morning. And we so appreciate Benjamin, and I so appreciate everyone that comes to these summits. So have a great weekend, and thank you.